Hello world, I'm Farsight and this is Starfield, or more precisely, this is the Starfield beta test of the upcoming patch. Figured I would jump in here real quick and take a look at something. I have had a constant problem with Vasco. He keeps wanting to stand in my hallway, blocking access to the rest of the ship. And it looks from the notes like maybe that problem has been solved. So here we are in my save that I've been working on. Or I've just finished doing some stuff here in Tau Ceti, and I've completely forgotten where I was and what I was doing. I'm going to have to go back and look at the recordings. But for the moment, I need to get somewhere I can work on my ship. I may be able to fast travel from here. Oops, that. You could tell it has been a hot second since I want to go to Freya 3. It's been a hot second since I have played. I've been doing other things for a bit while we were baking the next patch. So, star map. Want to go somewhere I can work on the ship, and that easiest place for me is to go back to Alpha Centauri. Basically, my problem has been that when I board the ship and start walking around, Vasco was being placed very badly. I mean, no matter what I did, he was getting put above something which would put him in the middle of one of these quarters. In fact, my whole ship design has been revised because of Vasco. I am going to set it back to the way I want it.
Got anything you need to offload? Okay, no problem.
So I'm going to put my armory back on the bottom of the ship where it belongs. Even with this, Vasco was being a little jerk, and he was still managing to stand somewhere I couldn't get him out of the way. So we're going to grab the whole top layer here, excluding the fuel tanks, which are going to have to move somewhere else. Actually, I could probably keep the fuel tanks in place as long as I always move everything together. The fuel tanks aren't connected to these habs, but as long as I have it all set up like that, I should be able to drag everything together and take it down one level, just like that. Then I'm going to take the habs that I want on the top layer. We're going to pull them off to the side. That leaves me with what we're going to do with our landing gear and our other stuff. Obviously, that guy goes in there. Landing gear, we will yeah, I'm going to put the landing gear below the fuel tanks. They appear to be able to clip on. This is assuming that my fuel tanks get some coverage from above. Now we grab all of this, and it has to go up a layer. There we go. Now with this organized like this, actually I can move my landing bay forward one. In my docker, I flip and move down to put there. And that's an extendable docker, so it should reach. If it's not, I'll go buy an extendable docker somewhere. And now, let's see, all of this stuff should be one piece, and I can move it into place. And we can move the cockpit into place. And we have put my configuration back the way I want it, so that we enter from the docking bay into the armory, and we also have the docker itself from the armory, and the armory goes forward right into the lower level of the cockpit, which is what I wanted. Yay! The upper level, we go from the cockpit back through a long hallway where we head back to captain's quarters and workshop and infirmary and science lab. So the upper deck is captain's area. The lower decks are all control stations and living quarters for the crew and so on. So yeah, upstairs is reserved for me and my companion. With this flipped around like this, we can see we have some holes we can fill in here with other stuff in the future. And we have some places we can fill in here with some stuff in the future when I want to go to a Class B or a Class C reactor. But that's the change. Notice this refit is costing us nothing. And the only flight check warning is because we only have two kinds of weapons. So we've got our electron beams and our suppressors. It would be fun to have two different kinds of electron beams that both can run full time if we had the reactor to do that. We don't really. We got a nice reactor, but it's not that nice. So we can now exit. And it's going to move all items into the cargo hold. And apparently I need to talk to Sam. And Barrett. Apparently I have done a number of interesting things since I last talked with Sam and Barrett.
Hello there.
Oh, hello. So, let's see. This is the lower deck. So we have our spine leading from the armory back to the living area. This would be a Hab A. And over here we have the Hab B. And we have some crew stations. This ship is actually set up for a larger crew, which I can't hire yet. And unfortunately, because everything went into storage, it also took all of the stuff off my mannequins. Oh, apparently also fixed in this patch, you could no longer go up to a mannequin and look through the little edge here. They fixed it so you couldn't look through the edge and get to the mannequin. So no more stealing the Mark I spacesuit in the basement. Now, it depends on how much has changed in the game. I'm going to have to evaluate and see if I want to do a start over again on this playthrough. I'm very far in, but I want this to be a long-term playthrough, and I did start out by stealing the Mark I spacesuit, which, because they fixed that bug, that now sticks out like a sore thumb as being an exploit. And Vasco is not sitting here in the hallway. Well, wait a minute, let's check. Is Vasco assigned as crew? Vasco is assigned as crew. So on the crew, we have assigned Barrett and Samco and Vasco. Sarah Morgan, alas, died in an attack. Andresia, she does have energy weapon systems, which would come in handy since we now have energy weapons. If her particle beams here made our ship's particle beams better, that would be really great. But, yeah, we have the maximum number of crew assignments. Unfortunately, see, he does particle beam weapon systems, which help out the ship. She does not help out the ship with this. Let's see, Samco does piloting and payloads. He makes the ship go faster. So we're keeping him, and we're keeping Barrett because he makes our weapons hotter. And we're keeping Vasco because he gives us another tick of energy weapon systems versus EM. So she's lasers. We don't use lasers. Vasco's getting us a little bit of better performance out of our EM weapons and better shields and another pip on the reactor. So we really want to keep Vasco, Sam, and Barrett on the ship. When I get up to 8 people, I will be adding Andrasia because, well, I'm adding Andrasia, period. And I'm going to shop around for some decent crewmates that will fill in other things. But it's neat that Vasco is now officially on board the ship, and he's not standing in the hallway. I'm going to continue my little tour of the ship here. Mainly what I'm looking out for is to see if Vasco's head is sticking up out of the floor anywhere. Because that's really what they said they were fixing, was having him clipping through things. When you first meet him, he does say that he will be riding in the external robotics area. So there really ought to be a place specifically where he sits, which is outside the ship. And to my eyes, it really should be a specific area in every docking bay that, you know, is reserved, maybe at the front of the docking bay or whichever end the docking bay doesn't open to. But as long as he's out of the way, I'm happy. So I didn't see Vasco anywhere. So he is definitely outside. If we want to find him, I'm going to sit down in the pilot seat. Now, if you get off the ship, of course, Vasco is going to get out of his normal station, and he's going to walk out to the front of the ship. Let's go to external view. And do you see Vasco anywhere? I don't see Vasco anywhere. You see underneath? I cannot look underneath, but I can kind of peek down below. I can see the docking ring down there. I can see the front of the docking bay and the side of it through that hole in the ship. I wonder if they just kind of made Vasco go somewhere completely else when you're in the ship. That would be a solution, is that Vasco just simply is nowhere near the ship during these times. That would actually be something that would be, you know, potentially very easy to do. Maybe Vasco sits at the lodge during this time. I don't know. The other thing is that we do have the emulary in our grav drive, and I don't think we can see it here. We may be able to see it if we take off.
Ready here. Color's good too.
So the ship still looks like it's kind of an open framework of modules. I wanted to make this
We're in orbit.
want to make this a really good-looking ship. I would definitely want to fill it in. Once it got launched, I noticed that we do have kind of a reasonable layout of our power. I don't like reasonable layouts. I like to have everything in par and everything else in grav. We will power up our EM systems if we're on a mission where we use them, in which case we will be depowering the particle beams. So I am trying to look at the exterior of the ship, see if I can find Vasco while we're in flight. And I am not seeing any signs of a robot clinging to the outside of the ship. I don't know. I like the idea of Vasco wandering around, clamped to the side of the ship, you know, wandering around the top and wandering around the bottom. It's like if you say repair the ship, that's Vasco out there doing the repairs. That's really a good in-game thing. And the fact that we can't see him, well, it's minor. So yeah, there it is. That bug is fixed. Huzzah! And my spacesuit is contraband. Well, not in game, but out of game. I consider my spacesuit now to be a anachronism. So I will probably be starting a new save. I'm going to wait until the current patch comes out of beta and becomes mainline. But yeah, there we have it. Oh, and I will be very carefully noting the layout of this ship. I've been tweaking this particular ship design for a while now. I want to make sure I've written down where all the modules are so I can start off by recreating this. This is based on the, let's see, I think it was the Star Eagle that had the good engines. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this. You start with the Star Eagle, so you get the engines without having to get to the proper skill level to use them. That gets you some great engines, gets you a great reactor. I dump everything else basically and rebuild this guy from scratch. Kind of expensive, but by the time I have the skills to put everything else together, the money isn't really that much of a problem. I can't say I'm good at this game, but I have worked out how to make a little bit of money here and there without, well, the easy way is you build an outpost and you let the outpost turn out a whole bunch of resources, and then you craft those resources by the hundreds into something, and then you carry 50 times as much or 100 times as much as you're normally willing to carry, which you can still schlep across the landing pads and sell. And that gets you experience, and that gets you gold or credits. What it doesn't get you is upgrades. So I don't like to do that. I'll do that if I need to, but you have to bear in mind, if you're suddenly 10 levels higher, then you're fighting enemies that are 10 levels higher with weapons that are 10 levels old. Anyway, so yeah, there's that. I think we're good. I'm going to leave us on that note, and we will be starting, I guess, a new Starfield series at some point in the future, and I will be going back to doing other things until then. Have a good time, and I'll see you in the next video.